Washington Nationals are going through yet another rebuild. They've been doing about as many in real life as I've been doing in MLB The Show franchise mode. But how about we add in a little rebrand? Or I should say, bringing back an old brand of former team, the Montreal Expos. That's right, the Expos are back in the National League East here, and I'm gonna rebuild this team starting with the current Nationals roster until we win a World Series title. With one major twist. My first round pick in every draft class has to be a Canadian player. They might be a future superstar, they might be awful. We'll just have to see what the MLB The Show gods want to deliver in these draft classes. Let's get started rebuilding the Montreal Expos. I left this one up to you guys, and out of 4 options, the Washington Nationals won the vote for my next rebuild. However, I really liked this idea from Base Paths and Brewskis, who said to bring back the Montreal Expos. Not only do you have a great YouTube name, you also have some good ideas. So that is what we're doing today. We've got the Expos on the docket. And also, that is not a bullet hole on my fridge. I'm not sure where that came from. Besides the draft restriction, I'm also going to restrict our budget to $150 million per year for this rebuild, which should be plenty to work with, but just want to add that little bit of extra challenge. I am expecting to make a lot of changes in this first season, which we'll talk about a little later on, but for now, let's get going to this draft because I need to see what Canadian players are going to be available. So I'm going to scroll through everybody here and find the first guy from Canada. And given that there's 400 players in the class, I'm expecting to see at least a couple of them from Canada. And there we go. Our first guy is starting pitcher Mark French. Not exactly my favorite profile being a strikeout guy, but he is ranked 35th in the class and has a pretty reasonable profile. I think this guy could actually move up the board, so this might not be too bad. And as far as position players, I'm going to immediately start looking for that 42nd overall pick and who I want there, beginning with second baseman Fernando Bautista, who has the exact type of potential ranges that I'm looking for, and he doesn't have any outlier stats. So that's the biggest tip I can give you here in this video. Look for players that do not have outlier, present, or future stats. Back to this season now where the Dodgers just swept us pretty easily, and the Cardinals, who are also rebuilding, took that series from us, so I think it's going to be a long year. And as far as the guys that I just scouted, Trent Munson moved way down the board. He is not going to be somebody that I select, but Fernando Bautista stayed in the same rank, so I definitely will scout him and finish his profile for another week. And now I'll start scouting international starters, including our Canadian player. Let's take a second to go through a few names on this roster. Our most promising player, of course, is 23-year-old James Wood. He's got a great combination of contact, power, and discipline. These are the type of players that I want to build around, and he is still on a renewable contract for a couple more seasons, so he should fit in pretty well with our timeline here. You also have a potential CJ Abrams, who is not a very good defensive shortstop, but especially so far this year, he is hitting the crap out of the ball. The only thing is he is already into his arbitration years, and this feels like a guy that I might want to trade. We'll have to see how things go on that front. You've got other players like center fielder Jacob Young with B potential, Nasim Nunez and Dalen Lyle with B potential, and actually our highest overall player is closing pitcher Clayton Beeter. As far as our farm system here, we've got the number 8 ranked prospect, 18-year-old shortstop Eli Willits, who probably is going to develop into a long-term player for us, but we'll see how long that takes. And of course, we've got several free agents to be who are potential trade candidates, although there's not a ton of value. I mean, how much could you really get for Zach Littell or Miles Mikolas? Maybe we could trade Trevor Williams, who has a potential and is coming back from an arm surgery, and it could be a little bit like a Shane Bieber trade that happened last year to the Blue Jays. Let's just see what happens here as we get further and further into the season. By the way, our second baseman here ended up staying at his same rating, so he's not going to be our guy, and I'm going to start looking at a couple center fielders now. Doug Brown looks very good, bad defense, but maybe he can play a corner. And then there's also 18-year-old Felix Valentin, but my only gripe with him is he kind of has low discipline, which is very important for me, but he does have good contact. Hey, Mark French has moved up the board quite a lot here, and I don't know how I didn't connect the dots earlier with his last name being French, so he's extra Canadian here. Again, he's more of a strikeout guy, which isn't always my favorite, but I think I could end up being pretty happy with our first-round Canadian here in the first year. Things are not great here so far midway through June. Wins are really tough to come by for us. We are 15 games under 500 right now. On top of that, none of the guys that I really want to trade are playing that great, including CJ Abrams, who is cold right now. Other young guys are playing fairly well, but I'm kind of disappointed with James Wood only having a 748 OPS. I definitely expect over 800 for him. He is currently rocking a 32% strikeout rate, which is not good. And to make things even worse, I haven't found many good players to draft so far, so hopefully these guys on the board now can be solid options, and honestly at this point I'm just excited to hopefully get Mark French. I did find Greg Newhouser, who looks really good for maybe pick number 111 or 141. He should have 8 potential. Still in the basement here as we approach the MLB draft at 40 and 55. And I haven't been able to make any trades yet, so we gotta try to get some talent here in this draft class. It all comes down to Mark French. He looks really good, and he is obviously Canadian, so this is the guy to circle. Just in case, I decided to scout another Canadian player here, Hugo Monk. He looked like the best other option, and he's ranked 130th. And I don't have many good position player options at all. I really want to get these center fielders here, Freddie Santana and also Doug Brown. Brown is not Discovery, Santana is Discovery. I hope he can fall, but I feel like Discovery players don't fall down the board as much as they used to. My 2 late round plays are Greg Newhouser at short and second baseman Luis Rosa, who's going to be very low overall, but I could take him in a pinch if I have to. So let's get draft number 1 going here, simulating ahead to our pick, and Mark French is off the board. You have got to be kidding me. The Rockies take him right in front of our pick. I mean, you can't make that up. I always seem to find a way to get screwed, and the Rockies have just made themselves into public enemy number 1. And that means now that I have to take Hugo Monk. He's the only other Canadian that I'm willing to take here. And yeah, so we're taking a player ranked 130th on our board with the first pick of this video. We're off to a great start. Thankfully, my center fielders are still on the board here. I probably need to take Doug Brown since he's not Discovery, and thankfully he can play the corners because his defense is terrible. And hopefully Freddie Santana could fall to our next pick. I've got a bunch of starters here. Most of them are Discovery. The only other guy I could consider is Benny Medina, but since we can get some starters later, I'm going to go with Doug Brown. And yeah, hopefully he's got decent potential. I'm going to take Greg Newhouser now because I think we need to salvage some potential in this draft class. Again, he's going to have a low overall, but we'll have time to let him develop. This is just it's not going too great so far. Time to start taking some starters now. I think I'll go with Pete Roth first here. I don't really want him to play for us, but definitely could trade the lefty. I'm going to go for Tom Sao now. Again, just hopefully has high potential. I don't know. I'm falling apart a little bit here, to be honest with you. At this point, I just got to take Sean Taylor, another starter, and just get out of here. There's really not many trades I can justify in the trade market right now. I'd love to trade CJ Abrams, but just the way that he is playing, I don't know if anybody really wants him. I mean, a 678 OPS, I feel like I might as well just keep him and see what we can do with them next year. Starting pitcher Cade Cavalli is pitching very well, and I could potentially trade him, but he is only going into ARB 1, and I think I can afford him next year, so I don't really want to trade him either, honestly. This might seem a little crazy, but I don't think I'm going to make any moves at all. This has been a pretty tough start, to be honest with you, so we're going to have to make up for it in future seasons, and maybe this draft class will be a pleasant surprise. I don't really think so, but let's rip the Band-Aid off and see what we got here, and oh my god, it actually is. We just got 2 players with 99 potential and 1 with 98. I mean, I cannot believe that this worked out. Second rounder Doug Brown is going to be a monster. He's got Major League ready contact instantly. We just need to improve him in the minors for a couple of years, and this guy's going to be insane. And the other guy with 99 potential, starting pitcher Sean Taylor here, and he's got some great control. The problem is he's 58 overall, so we'll have to wait 4 or 5 seasons before he's Major League ready. Same thing with Tom Sao. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but either way, this guy also has super high potential, so, I mean, this is promising. Newhouser and Roth are also promising. They have a potential, but again, they're big projects, and you know what? Hugo Monk is not terrible. You'll never see me take a reliever in the first round unless I have to, but the Canadian might actually be a piece of the bullpen, and he is on a similar timeline to really all of these guys. I mean, the only one who's going to come up anytime soon is Doug Brown. I was feeling kind of depressed, but now I'm actually excited about this team. So let me sim to the offseason here, and we'll see just how good we can get with a offseason of free agency and maybe some trades at that point. So finishing out the first year back as the Expos here, we go 71 and 91. I brought Curtis Mead up here just during September call-ups, so James Wood and Jose Tena were our best players really during this season. And so was Dalen Lyle, who, honestly, I kind of underrated this guy. With his contact, he's probably going to stick around for a while. And CJ Abrams did get his OPS above 700 before the end of this year, so his trade value's gone up, but I'm also tempted to just keep him and see what he can do. We were last place in runs scored, so there is a long way to go in the offense, but at least there's a few promising guys there. We were actually quite a bit better than I expected in terms of ERA, though. At a 4.09, that puts us 13th in the league. Big part of that was Cade Cavalli in the rotation. He's our most promising pitcher in the major leagues right now, and he developed pretty well and still has beat potential, so he could get even better. I really expected to make a lot of moves during this season as we simulate to the end here and the Cubs take down the Blue Jays in the World Series, the other Canadian team. But honestly, I'm kind of more so just looking to see what I can do in the offseason, and let's have our young players continue to develop as Expos. When I look at this lineup to try to improve for next year, there's a couple spots that definitely stick out here. DH and first base. So that is going to be my focus for free agency. And I think I'm just going to let the young guys continue to play. Lyle, Wood, Abrams, Keibert Ruiz, his potential did go down, but he's already on a pretty cheap long-term deal for a catcher, so he should probably stick around, and all these guys towards the bottom have beat potential. So I feel like we just kind of run it back outside of first base and DH, and obviously we need to improve the starting rotation. I do have one gripe with Jacob Young because he was really bad at the plate last year with a 579 OPS. I need him to do a little bit better than that, but the defense is so good in center that I kind of just want to stick with him as well. But yeah, when it comes to the rotation, it has got to get a lot better than this. So we'll stick with Cade Cavalli once again and probably Foster Griffin since he was also pretty good, sub 4 ERA. So we'll probably stick with those guys and look to fill in some of these other spots. I think there's a very real chance that we can get to at least 500 and maybe into a wild card spot as soon as next year. Somehow Vinny Pasquantino is on the trading block, and it would be a one-year rental, but he's coming off of a 935 OPS season and feels like exactly what we need right now. The Royals are looking for young, controllable pitchers, and I've got quite a few I can offer. I'm going to offer this trade, and we will find out. There are some good options in free agency as well that I wouldn't mind turning to for a little bit longer term, like 2 or 3 years, or maybe just 1 year for a Josh Bell. Going to need to help the pitching staff in free agency, that's for sure. And check this guy out. Tomoya Kinjo is here, a Japanese pitcher who has a potential. So I definitely want to just try to sign this guy kind of as an international free agent. It's going to be way too cheap for who he actually is, but he's not major league ready yet anyway, so he will be expensive eventually. As far as some pitching help for right now, maybe I could sign Shane Bieber for a couple of seasons. He wants 4 years. I'd like to try to go a little bit less. 4 years, 17. We'll try to make that 2 years, 18, something like that. We absolutely need a good left-handed relief pitcher as well, and I think Brock Burke is going to be my option here. So that's what I'm looking at here in the offseason, and we'll see how things develop. Okay, that trade for Vinny P was rejected, which I did kind of expect, but I wanted to start low. I can up the stakes a little bit here. They also want young second baseman, and how about Gavin Fiend? What if we could flip him over to the Royals and throw that in the deal? And I also don't really want Josiah Gray for next season, so let's shake this up a little bit, and maybe they'll accept that 3-for-1 for Vinny P? I'm not sure. And that trade is accepted. Roth, Fiend, and Gray for a year of Pasquantino. Kinda risky, maybe not expecting to do a trade like that this early, but he might be able to get us 4 or 5 additional wins just with his bat alone. For a front of the rotation starter here for us in Shane Bieber, and we got him on the first try. 3 years, $17 million per year. Decided to go for 3. I'm pretty happy about this. And also our lefty reliever Brock Burke, I went for 2 years and he's not ready yet. Bieber's going to help this rotation out a lot, and I actually think he still has room for development here at only 31 years old. I think I am going to sign Josh Bell here for a year to be our DH. That's the best option that I could find. So that's my plan, and then we got to land Brock Burke still. And there we go, we got Burke for 2 years. And that would be for Josh Bell, and there we go. 1 year, $9 million to be our designated hitter. Let's grab Richie Palacios. He is always a go-to for me with that positional flexibility and discipline. Not great, but kind of just what we need right now. So obviously underwent quite a bit of rebuilding there in the offseason, with our biggest guy coming in being Vinny Pasquantino, who should make a big difference on this 1-year rental. And we've got Shane Bieber in the rotation now, who's going to be here for 3 years. He's definitely our ace right now. The rest of the rotation still has room for development, but these guys are at least average, or maybe slightly better than average in a good year. The bullpen has definitely improved with some Rule 5 additions, as well as bringing in Brock Burke, who looks really good in this roster and has room for improvement. And our closer is going to be Cole Henry, who also looks really good. It would not surprise me if we turn things around quickly here and are a playoff team in just the second year of this video. On top of that, we've got some really good potential in the farm system now, especially Doug Brown, who is the number 3 prospect in the league. And of course, also in AA now is Eli Willits, our shortstop of the future. So those are kind of the 2 guys to circle for later in the video. Let's jump in here and see opening day in the O-Dome here, which is pretty cool. The Expos are back, and so is this iconic stadium, and we've got a former Cy Young winner here, Shane Bieber, on the mound. Facing the Tigers today, and Jung-Ho Lee is coming over to Detroit in the leadoff spot. Bieber delivers, and that's strike 3 on the corner, but we're getting a challenge. ABS has been a lot of fun this year, and that just missed by a pixel, literally. And now the count goes full on the first batter of the new season. The new look Expos. Bieber delivers a pitch, and that's hit into right, but Jacob Young has a ton of range. That is why he's on this team, and he makes the catch. And former Ray, Brandon Lau, is now on the Tigers. This is a dangerous hitter, especially against righties. Bieber's going to have to execute a pitch here. The count is full. And here it is, and that is ball 4. Not exactly what we had drawn up here, as now Kevin McGonigal steps to the plate. He surprisingly struggled last year in this simulation. He's been really good in real life so far. Bieber with the pitch, and that's right down the middle. Smoked out to center. Young going back to the track. He makes the catch, but that will bring home a run. Bieber working very hard here. 32nd pitch of the inning, trying to get out of this, and he jams Dingler, and that'll get the job done. Our matchup today is Framber Valdez. Looks like Scooble is no longer on the Tigers here. And Dalen Lyle, that is through the hole leadoff base runner. That'll bring up James Wood here in the 2 spot. I really want to see that strikeout rate go down this year, but his vision is very bad, so we're probably going to see a lot of those once again. But if he can have some power and some walks, that's okay. Biggest offseason addition, the Pasquatch coming to the plate here. First at bat, that's a swing and a miss. He was incredible last year, so I made that huge trade to bring him in, only in the second season of the video, and here's the 3-2 pitch, and that is a walk. Big opportunity for Ruiz to respond here, but he's going to ground into a double play. Brandon Lau finishes it off. Not exactly the best start for us, but I do really like the team that I've put together, as Shane Bieber has really started to lock in now. Just like I asked for, James Wood draws a walk to lead off the 4th, and here's Vinny P at the plate. And there's Vinny P striking out. Ruiz does find a hole for a single, which means we've got 2 on for CJ Abrams. This is a huge year for him and his future on this roster. He's having a massive breakout offensively. In real life in 2026, I want to see some of that in the game, and there we go. That's lined in the right center field gap. Really nice swing there from Abrams to tie the game. Here's Josh Bell, our new DH, and he roasts one in the left. Parker Meadows tracking it down. That is off the wall. 1 run is in. Abrams comes home, and we are up 3-1 just like that. Now Bieber's in a little bit of trouble. Back-to-back singles, and we are heading to our bullpen. Waddell gets out of it. And Josh Bell with a solo shot extends the lead. He is already looking promising as our DH with that offseason signing. But then Waddell gives up back-to-back base runners. Can he get out of this inning? Beater is coming in, and that's a single, scoring 2 runs. I moved him out of the closer role from last year because of his poor control, and he needs to have some good control here to keep us in the lead with Dingler at the plate. 2 on, 2 outs in the 7th, and 2 strikes on Dylan Dingler. Here's the pitch. That's right down the middle, off the glove, and the bases are now loaded. I almost traded for Colt Keith this offseason, and the game is in his hands right now. As he's got a 3-1 count here, Beater has to find the zone. That is low, and he's gonna walk in the tying run. You saw it with your own eyes, why I prioritize control so much. I hate walks. Burke trying to keep us tied here in his first appearance in an Expos uniform. High leverage as it gets, he gets him to chase above the zone for strike 3. Jacob Young, that's a leadoff single up the middle. Turning the lineup over, Dalen Lyle in the 1 spot draws a walk. So 2 on and nobody out for James Wood, our superstar, and he lines 1. That looks like it might be a double play. He's gonna have to beat it out, and he does. So here is Vinny P with a chance to tie the ball game, lined or ground rather to third base, and he is going to be safe. Either way, with just 1 out, that brings home the go-ahead run. Tigers keep applying pressure. Cole Henry struggling with his command right now. Here's Parker Meadows at the plate, and that is ball 4. I would like to see sliders away to Baez, but that's a fastball, and it catches a lot of plate out to left on the track, and it is caught. What a play, and that wins us the game. That is about as intense as it gets right there, as we do win the first game of the season. And it's a 6-3 start. We are tied with the Marlins for first place. Let's take a look at the draft class here and find our Canadian players. First guy is a starter, Randy Kearns, who might be okay. Next up is a center fielder, Ronald Wexler, ranked 36th. That looks a little too good to be true. And same thing with second baseman Geno Hamilton, way too good to be true. And I'm now getting very deep in the class and have not found another one until this guy here, reliever Archer Boone. And he is also not looking very good. I look through everybody else and it's gonna have to be Randy Kearns. This is our best bet. I'm hopeful that he's gonna be decent. Pretty insane right now in the division after that nice start. We're still 4 games above 500, but we're in last place. All 5 of these teams are playing very, very well. The whole division is separated by a game and a half. And I found definitely who I would like to take with our second round pick here, Jose Ramirez. He looks like he's going to be awesome, but here's the issue. We pick at 45, he started at 46 and is now ranked 5th. I'm probably not going to be able to get him. Positive news is that Randy Kearns has stayed around his draft ranking so far early in the scouting process. I think he is going to have mid-B potential, but his profile does look pretty good. Now 2 months into the year, we're in 3rd place, 7 games above 500. We're playing really well, but so is everybody else still. Our offense is looking really, really strong. There's a lot of OPSs here above 800, including Vinny P, but also Josh Bell, James Wood, Dalen Lyle, and Nasim Nunez, who unfortunately got hurt early in the year. However, CJ Abrams is still lagging behind here with an OPS under 700. And he's not improved at all this year. He's just stayed right at 82 overall so far. Also, our ace, Shane Bieber, is on a Cy Young pace once again. He's 5-1 in decisions, and in his first 75 innings, he has a 2.5 ERA. Some of the other guys are struggling quite a bit though, so this may be a spot to improve around the deadline, and same goes with our bullpen. There are some very high ERAs here, even though I feel pretty good about a lot of these guys. We are going to have some very interesting decisions to make here pretty soon. Meanwhile, on the scouting side, I've turned my attention to trying to find some late-round options here. Chad Stubbs and Luis Diaz are looking promising. The number 1 player in this class is a college pitcher who looks insane. I wish he was Canadian, and I wish we had the first overall pick, but obviously we don't. We've got a really promising discovery guy up here towards the top as well, and also Archie Sherry moved up the board a bunch. But of course, I am eyeing our Canadian guy here, Randy Kearns, who's settled in around 30th in the class. We are staying hot though, taking a series from the Dodgers. That's always a good sign. And both Stubbs and Diaz moved up the board a little bit. I'm not sure if they're great late round gems, but they're at least options. Checking back in on CJ here, and now he is cold once again. It's kind of hard for me to justify a trade mid-season here with a negative player. I mean, I can't really give him to somebody who's not contending because they don't need somebody getting into their second year of arbitration, and I don't really want to give him to a contender because who wants a guy that's underperforming like this? I think we just got to stick it out again here. I mean, obviously I'm rooting for his success, but not getting a whole lot of it. On the other hand, though, we are seeing a massive breakout from James Wood with a 942 OPS. Vinny P is actually still outpacing him with a 945. Diving a little deeper on James Wood here, he's up to 21 home runs, so he's on a much quicker pace than last year, which is definitely what I was asking for, and he's combining that with a great on-base percentage as well. The K rate is definitely still high, but he walks at an above-average rate to help make up for it, and obviously he's hitting the shit out of the ball in terms of slugging, so I'm pretty happy overall. Right now, we're the 4th ranked offense in the league in terms of runs scored, so there's not many complaints I have in that department. We could definitely improve our pitching, and when we get closer to the deadline, that's what I'll look to do. Just 1 week later, I know there's been a lot of updates here, but we're into first place. Things are really coming together very quickly here for the Expos. And I scouted Luis Diaz for another week, and he is looking like a late-round gem for us, so the draft board should have plenty of depth when we get there in just a moment. Okay, as I mentioned, the draft board is looking really good. Randy Kearns, of course, will be our first overall pick, and the combination of hits per 9 and control should make him play above his rating, which is going to be somewhere in the low to mid 80s, but he's not going to be far from MLB ready, so that's the positive. Now, our second round pick is a huge one. We pick at 45. Center fielder Jose Ramirez is our best bet in that spot. There's 2 other position players I'd be willing to take. Third baseman Robbie Walsh here, who's very good defensively, and then you have catcher Sam Campos, who is also very good defensively. The thing is that there are a lot of really, really good pitchers as well that are tempting in the second round. I would love it if Ramon Torres could fall late for us. He's a great discovery pitcher, but the way things have gone lately, he probably won't. But discovery shortstop Zach Colon also looks like he's going to have massively high potential, and we might be able to get him with our last pick. So I really like my board here. Let's get this thing started. If Randy Kearns gets taken ahead of me on this one, truly no way to explain that. All right, simming ahead to our pick, and Randy Kearns is still there. So with this 7th pick, we are taking Kearns here, our Canadian starting pitcher. Will Jose Ramirez fall to our next pick? He will! And Ramon Torres, our discovery starter, is also still here. This draft class has a chance to be really good, and we're going to take Jose Ramirez here. I've got high expectations for him. Let's hope that Ramon Torres keeps falling here, and he is gone. He goes at number 69 to the Cardinals. They are stacking up on some very good pitching talent. We got a lot of those in the last draft, so I don't mind looking at some position players now. I should be able to come back for some of these guys, but I think Stephen Cho would get taken if I don't grab him here. Just a very well-rounded catcher. He's probably going to have B potential, but I like this option. We've got 3 picks left. I like Luis Diaz the best by far out of all of these options. He could even have 99 potential, so I'm going with second baseman Diaz here. Now, Yamaguchi and Stubbs are going to be really low overall, so just a potential play here, and I think between the 2, I like the third baseman Chad Stubbs a little bit more, so I'm going with him. And with my last pick, I'm about to get a ton of value with shortstop Zach Colon, who can also play everywhere else in the infield. I think this is going to be a really good class. I'm expecting we're going to have quite a few all-stars here, so let's take a look. I'm kind of surprised that Shane Bieber's not here as a starter. Keibert Ruiz is here, though, as a catcher. That kind of snuck up on me. Remember, his potential went down last year, but he's got an 834 OPS right now. Vinny P, of course, is here for first base. I had no doubt in my mind that he would make it. He's already got 31 home runs, and he's actually trailing Sal Stort. We've got Dalen Lyle in left field. It just keeps going. He is having an excellent year at the plate. 914 OPS for Lyle. James Wood is also here. He's staying hot with 24 home runs and batting .289. And last but not least, off-season signing Josh Bell to DH is an all-star. That is working out great. I'm pretty proud of this one. So we are cooking right now, but this team can get better. I need to take a look at the trade blocks. There are not many good trade matchups for us for starting pitchers, but there is one for a reliever. Greg Weissert is on the board here from the Red Sox. I would love it if they would take Seaver King off my hands. Another guy who has gone down in potential this year, but he can play the positions that they're looking for, or at least third base, and I feel like this could be a fair deal. I don't know. They might ask for a little bit more. No, it is accepted. Okay, perfect. That makes a lot of sense for us because we have Eli Willits on the way, so I didn't really need Seaver King. Staying strong here, getting into August, 65 and 49 now, and we just won another series against the Dodgers, but we did lose this series to our rivals in Canada, the Blue Jays. We are looking good. Very excited to see how Randy Kearns and the rest of our draft picks look here in 2027. Let's see how we did here, And that is kind of disappointing. Kern's coming in with 79 potential. I was hoping we would get at least B out of it, but the good news is the control is going to make him play well above that rating, and the hits per 9 projects well, so his profile actually might work in the major leagues. Decent shot that we get a Canadian starter in the rotation in the next couple of years. I'm more disappointed in Jose Ramirez. I thought I was going to steal a mid-90s potential player here who was 62, 63 overall, but 58 overall with 88 potential is not bad, but again, was expecting for a little more there. DS Stubbs and Cologne all have decent potential, but again, they're all really major projects, so at least they could be good trade pieces. Those guys will be joining our farm system here, where Doug Brown in AA is going nuts right now. He has got a 915 OPS, so I think it's time to get him up to AAA. He is on the fast track to the major leagues. Eli Willits is not playing quite as well in AA, but he's continuing to develop, so hopefully he keeps pushing to the right direction. I mean, this is our future shortstop right here. We should be playoff bound here, so let's simulate to the end of this season. With a month left, we're 82-57, 11 games up in the wild card, so we're definitely making the playoffs, but I don't think we're going to be able to take down the Phillies in this division. Finishing out an exciting season here with 99 wins in just year 2 of the rebuild. The Phillies got us by 1 game, and then after that there's an 18-win separation between the next team and the NL East. We stayed right at the 4th most potent offense here with 811 runs scored. And our ERA improved a ton throughout the course of the year, up to 5th here, so we're really good on both sides of the ball. The rotation was led by Shane Bieber with a 3.31 ERA. He truly did pitch like an ace, and Jake Irvin was very impressive as well with a 3.56 ERA. And I think the move to bring Greg Weissert in as our closer was a smart one. He ended up with 25 saves just in that latter half of the year. He was 25-6, which is at least a little bit better than who we had there before. I'm forgetting his name. And I talked about it throughout the year, but this was a breakout season for a lot of guys. Dalen Lyle especially, 946 OPS. He ended up with a Silver Slugger this year and 35 home runs with 103 RBI. Vinny P was excellent. I might need to re-sign him after a 45 home run season, and James Wood with an 888 OPS and 39 home runs. CJ Abrams did turn things around enough to get to a 725 OPS, which is just about what he does every single year. So there's still no development, and it's another 1.5 WAR season. I think we can do better than that at short, but at least he ended up finishing strong. So here is our playoff rotation: Bieber, Cavalli, Irvin, and Griffin. And the lineup is about the same as it was throughout the year, and I have a ton of confidence in these guys. Our wildcard matchup is against the Cubs. I never liked these 3-game series, but we did just sweep them literally the last week of the season. So let's simulate Game 1, which we win, and Game 2 to move on, we win again. And with that, we'll be taking on the Phillies, who took the division from us by just that 1 game. We're headed to Philadelphia looking for some revenge. It'll have to come against Christopher Sanchez, who was unbelievable in the regular season. If anybody can shut down this lineup, it is definitely him, and that is a pretty clean first inning. We've got Jake Irvin going, who was a pleasant surprise this year, but he's definitely not as good as Christopher Sanchez. And the Phillies strike first on an error and then a double from Ryan O'Hearn. And they double the lead on a single from Myers. He steals second, a single from Justin Crawford scores him, and it's already 3-0. Now 2 runners on in the very next inning, and the bases are loaded for Bryson Stott, who singles home another run. It is not looking good for us here, as Christopher Sanchez is potentially going to pitch a complete game shutout. Sanchez goes 8 innings, but instead of him finishing it out, Zach Pop is coming in for the Phillies, but either way, we just got completely destroyed in Game 1 as Josh Bell flies out into left. Brandon Marsh makes the catch, and we are down 1-0 already in the NLDS. This Phillies roster seems very determined to get that World Series that everybody thinks that they will, as they go up 1-0 in the series, although we do come back and shut them out in Game 2 to even things up. And now we have 2 games at home in the O-Dome, but we lose Game 3. If we're going to stay alive in the postseason, we have to win Games 4 and 5, and here goes Game 4, which we do win. Jake Irvin is back on the mound for the deciding game, this time against Zach Wheeler, which we lose, and we are eliminated. Either way, that was a hell of a run for only our second season as the Padres take down the Mariners in the 2027 World Series. And after that season, there is no doubt in my mind that we have a very promising young core here to work with. There is one problem with that, however. Everybody is about to get a lot more expensive. And the way things are currently projected, we are going to go over our budget if everyone comes back. I thought Vinny P was going to be a rental, but actually we still have team control here, so I think I'm going to extend both him and James Wood as centerpieces of the offense. CJ Abrams is going to have to get traded. He just has not performed up to the level of really anybody else in that young core that I was just talking about. Looking around the league, I think it makes most sense to trade CJ Abrams to the Braves, who have had shortstop issues for a while, and I think he is an upgrade over all these other options that they have right now. And look, he might break out with them, and it is what it is, but I don't think his value is getting any better for us, and he's only got a couple more years of team control. The Braves have a lot of young starters on the trading block here, and I am eyeing J.R. Ritchie as our return. He might be part of the rotation next year, but if he isn't, he still has some options available, so I think this is a pretty sweet deal for us. Simming ahead, and there we go. Blockbuster trade CJ Abrams for J.R. Ritchie. My plan is going to be having Nasim Nunez play shortstop for us until we can get our guy Eli Willits up into the majors. With Josh Bell gone, I've got an open spot at DH now, and I know exactly how I'm going to fill it in with Doug Brown. Our number one prospect and our second rounder from the first draft class has great contact already, and he can't quite field yet. At some point, I may have to replace Dalen Lyle with him, but for now, he is the perfect fit. Now that we have an excess of starting pitchers, I'm going to look to trade Jake Irvin, who is in his second year of arbitration, for an outfield prospect on the Rays, Dean Moss. I need to make some moves like this for arbitration-eligible guys in order to free up the budget to extend Pasquantino and James Wood. I'm offering $27.5 million per year for James Wood for 5 years, and then I did $22.5 million for Vinny P. So between these two guys, it's going to be $50 million per year. That is 1/3 of the total money that I have to spend. Unfortunately, James Wood did not accept the deal that I gave him, and I'm going to have to offer him an arbitration deal. This is definitely not the ideal scenario here, so we'll see if we do end up going to arbitration. He's going to get more and more expensive as each year goes on, and I want him to be a centerpiece of our team, but if I can't get this deal done in the offseason, I might end up having to trade him next year. The $150 million budget that I put on myself is actually more of a challenge than I thought with this roster, just because of how many guys line up in the same year for their arbitration deals. And I've already given Shane Bieber and Vinny P long-term extensions, which I definitely believe in these guys and think these are good contracts. But one of my concerns that is developing here is I didn't have a whole lot of money to invest more into our starting rotation, so we're going to have to rely on young guys like J.R. Ritchie to really play well. Now, I do feel really good about the bullpen here. This should be a solid staff that we can rely on for later parts of games. And the lineup this year with the addition of Doug Brown also looks solid, but we are pretty lefty-heavy. Wood elected to go to arbitration and won his case for $13 million, so I was not able to get that long-term deal completed. And weirdly, it might have actually been for the best, because that would have put me over my budget amount. We're coming at $143 million. I would have had to make some other kinds of deals. I am truly fascinated to see what the roster can do this year. After 99 wins last season and a lot of changes, let's see what we can do. We get started against San Francisco, and we lose on opening day. We do salvage one game before we go play Kansas City and win our first series of the year, and now we take on Baltimore and lose those two, and we're 3-5. I said I need our rotation to play up this year, and they are not. Look at these ERAs. The best one is Bieber with a 7.88. Safe to say J.R. Ritchie's first start did not go too well. He went 2 2/3 innings and gave up 6 earned runs. Not a good start to the year. Let's take a look at the draft class here and see what Canadian players we can find. The first one is Russ LeBlanc, who is ranked 19th in the class, a 22-year-old left-handed starter who looks okay. Next up, we have a catcher, Justin Mosley, who's Canadian, but his overall and potential range are exactly the same, so I never scout guys like that. We do have this guy ranked 82nd, Jeffrey Moore, who is Canadian, and he has some zeros in his profile. This guy looks like a pretty promising outfielder. And then literally right next to him is a center fielder, Russell Capel, who also looks very promising. As a center fielder, I'm going to scout both of these guys first. I actually think there's some decent talent here. Still a slow start here, 9-12, and we're already 5 games back from the Braves, but it is early. I mean, I still believe in this team. It's not a great start. We have had a great start in scouting, though. Jeffrey Moore, the first of those 2 outfielders, moved from 82nd to 23rd in the class. And he can play center field and looks like he would play an elite one at that, so this is my favorite Canadian right now. And we finally get to 500 with a win over the Dodgers, and that was a series win over LA, so that is a good sign. And we end up finishing the month of April strong here, getting us to 18-15. The top of our order is hot, so that is making the big difference, especially James Wood, who clearly is very motivated this year, batting .383 with 12 home runs. He has almost a 1.2 OPS right now. And our rookie Doug Brown is off to a good start here as our new DH. He currently has a .935 OPS. And the rotation has started to steady out here, with the exception of DJ Hers, who's almost got a 7 ERA. Moving ahead another month here, and we're only 3 games above 500 now, and we are in second to last place. We are 3rd in runs scored, so obviously offensively, we're looking really good, and our rookie Doug Brown has the 2nd most runs behind James Wood. I think the problem is that our division is just really good. The Braves are the 3rd ranked team. They're 42-16 right now. The Mets are ranked 7th, and the Phillies are ranked 6th, and there we are ranked 21st. We're definitely in the wildcard hunt, but I mean, it's a little early to be looking at that. I'm just worried that last year's success might have been an aberration. This is almost never the case, but the West region is actually the 2nd best region for starters in this draft class, so you rarely will ever see me do this, but that is the other position or other region that I'm scouting besides international. I do have a little bit of PTSD from scouting only the West region in my last rebuild, but I'll push through. Well, we started to get on a good run, and then we just got swept by the worst team in our division, the Marlins. I don't know what to make of this team and this roster. It's a strange season. Okay, we just won 10 games in a row right after that clip, and we're still going. I was thinking we might have to sell everything off, but there's a little bit of hope now. We've made it up into the 2nd wildcard spot behind the Mets. In this last week of scouting before the draft, I'm going to take another look at Jeffrey Moore, who looks to be our most promising player, but I want to see just how good he is. This is honestly a really strong draft class. We should be able to have a nice draft. And finishing Jeffrey Moore's profile, he moved up to the 5th ranked player in the class. This is the most promising Canadian I've found so far. Unfortunately, he does have a low overall, so it's going to be another guy who probably won't impact us for at least 3 or 4 years. But considering the restriction I put on myself here, this is a pretty important player to have on our board. So we pick at 26, and if somehow Jeffrey Moore is taken from me, we'll have to go with Russ LeBlanc, who's not a terrible option either. If both those guys are taken, which is possible, then I'll go with our reliever Thomas Spabori. Let's start the draft and see what happens. Simulating ahead to our pick, and Jeffrey Moore is here. Russ LeBlanc got taken 20th by the Cubs, so he is not going to be the guy. Jeffrey Moore is. And like I mentioned before, this guy's a right fielder, but he's going to play an elite center field. He's actually got more upside than Jacob Young, who is our current center fielder, but again, it's going to take him a little while to get to the majors, but I'm super happy with our first rounder here, Jeffrey Moore. Fortunately, I lost all the other position players that I wanted besides this shortstop, Abraham Chavez, but I'm going to pass up on him because there are some starters in here that look insane. I don't want to risk these guys getting taken from me. Both Jeffrey Solis and Robin Rocker are incredible. Let me show you their profiles. Rocker is the number 2 ranked player in the class, and Solis the number 4 ranked player. They should have high potential and high overalls. These guys look really good. I'm willing to miss out on some later picks to get them. Rocker and Solis are the best value here, the best picks that I can take for our 62nd, and hopefully Solis stays. No, he's gone. He gets taken by the Diamondbacks for pick number 83. I think he was going to be really good. My last option left is Jay LeBlanc. I had a very promising draft board going into this, and now I'm running out of options very quickly. I only have 2 guys scouted left. I'm going to have to go just pick some random guys who look promising. And I've got to do it pretty quickly. We don't have a ton of time here. I'm going to start with catcher Sheldon Wells. Didn't scout him at all. I guess we'll see. Now I'm going to take a shot on this Discovery relief pitcher who could be very good or way too good to be true, and I really don't have any better options at this point than this starter Adolfo Villarreal, who is not going to be great, but that's all I've got left. Thankfully, the team's playing a little bit better, and we've got some all-stars here. Vinny Pasquantino continues to be one of the best hitters in this roster. He's got a 939 OPS. This is the third consecutive season above 900. I don't have money to give out these kind of deals to everybody, but Vinny P had to be an exception. This guy is tearing the cover off the ball. And our other all-star is our homegrown center fielder here, Doug Brown. He's cooled down a little bit, 332 on base, 472 slug for an 804 OPS, but he's got 99 potential, so just need to let him continue to develop here. He actually hasn't developed quite as much this season as I thought he would. We still need to see a lot more out of this pitching rotation for the last half of the year here, especially our ace, Shane Bieber. A 4.5 ERA is just not going to cut it for me. J.R. Ritchie also has a 4.5 ERA, but that's okay in his rookie season. He is developing nicely. And most of the bullpen's been pretty good, with the exception of Brandon Waddell, so I'm going to switch him with Brock Burke, who hopefully can have a better year in the setup role than he did last season. I've been looking through the trading block, and I don't see that many options to improve this team. Because of our budget limit, I can't go after many of the big targets. And I feel good about our bullpen already, so I don't see the need to add any relievers, honestly. Actually, there might be one reliever that can help us out, because he's got enough stamina to be a starter, Cody Bradford. He's on a $3 million contract, and he's in AAA with the Athletics. This seems like a great option. I'm going to trade them starting pitcher DJ Hurst, who does have B potential and I thought was going to be really good, but he hasn't panned out as an Expo. And he's eligible for arbitration next year, and I don't really want to keep him, so maybe the Athletics can figure him out. They accepted that trade just a day later, and we've got a new member of the rotation. I think Cody Bradford is going to be really good, and I'm excited to see what he can do. His first start is today against Seattle, and we lose that game 1-0. And that's right as a blockbuster trade goes down here for Jose Soriano going to the Royals. This game is obviously not Cody Bradford's fault. He went 7 innings, only giving up 1 run. In fact, that's back-to-back games that we lost 1-0. We need our offense to heat back up here as soon as possible. We did get on a nice run here, but the Braves just 4-game swept us, and they remain well out in front of the division. They might be the best team in the league. But since it's August 2nd, it's time to view our draft picks, and as you can see, Jeffrey Moore got better and better throughout the signing period. Let's see how he is, and he has 91 potential. Our new best Canadian, Jeffrey Moore, and he looks awesome. He's going to be a really good center fielder, and he'll play well above his rating because of that contact and speed. This is a really exciting pick. I wish he wasn't 57 overall, but hopefully he can rise through the minors quickly. I'm very excited about starter Robin Rocker. He looks great, and he's 65 overall with B potential, 89 potential. LeBlanc also has 89 potential. Unfortunately, after that, I ran out of guys that I had scouted, which is honestly surprising. I had a pretty nice draft board going into things, but discovery guys get taken earlier and earlier. You can't rely on that strategy quite as much as you could in the past. There was a generational player in this draft class that is going to the Brewers here. Right fielder Ryan Payne looks insane. We were moving along decently here, but we just got 3 games swept by Toronto. Our rivals in the North just kicked us out of a wildcard spot. We are behind the Reds now. And we've got no shot in this division where the Mets and the Braves are going nuts. I'm getting a little bit worried that we're not even going to have a playoff spot here as the Mets sweep us, and I didn't sell anything off. We just lost, what was that, 8, 9 in a row? After 99 wins last season, this roster is very disappointing. And after losing 10 in a row, we're 6 games out of a wildcard spot. What is going on here? I just was going to simulate to the end of the season, but we just won 9 in a row. And all of a sudden, we're only 3 games out of the wild card. And we're facing the Padres right now, who are in front of us. This is a big game today, and we take the loss. We are going to have to storm to the finish line with a lot of wins. There's 2 in a row for a sweep of Colorado, and we can't quite get it. I think we're going to need to win all 6 of these games, starting against the Pirates, and we win the first. We lose the second, and we win the third. But unfortunately, the Padres and the Reds have already clinched, and we're going to miss the playoffs. Finishing the season 87-75. I have played a lot of franchise on and off YouTube, and this is one of the weirdest years I've ever had. James Wood put together yet another incredible season, but unfortunately, I think it's his last as an Expo. He is an unbelievable player at this point, at his max potential, but unfortunately not being able to get that deal done last season, I don't think I can afford him. I can't explain this season in any other way than bad luck. Honestly, I put together a pretty good team as the Royals end up defeating the Cubs in 2028. So after a frustrating and confusing season, we head to the offseason. As I've mentioned a couple times already, this is going to be a very consequential and complicated offseason with all the guys that we have eligible for arbitration. Even guys like relievers that I've been relying on are eligible for arbitration and asking for about $5 million a pop. I cannot afford all of that. Our budget is already at $46 million with the current contracts, and our ARB and renewable estimates of about $131 put us close to $180. Some very key pieces of this team so far are gonna have to go. I've got a lot to figure out here off camera, and I'll explain my key moves as they come up. First guy out the door is starting pitcher Cade Cavalli, who has turned into a really good player for us, but I just cannot afford the $18 million contract. I would love to get this left fielder with a potential Lawrence Shepard from the Mariners, but I don't know if that's going to work. I'm going to try it. If it doesn't, I'm also eyeing this second baseman, Greg Mills. Next up is an arbitration deal. I need to bring Nasim Nunez back because we need a shortstop for another season while Willits continues to develop. And he's asking for about $8 million here, which I think is fair. Jacob Young is also going to have to go here, asking for $13 million. I want to justify it, but in his last year of arbitration, we've got to try to get some value here before he's a free agent. And I'm going to package him with Foster Griffin, who's been a pretty good starting pitcher for us, to the Royals in exchange for one of their starter prospects here, as well as a closer prospect that looks really good. And I'm going to look for a center fielder in free agency, and I'm eyeing Garrett Mitchell. Good contact and discipline, and good defense and speed. And I'm making all kinds of trades, just trying to restock the farm here with some high potential and giving up on guys on the cusp of the majors that are not going to play for me. And this one worked out pretty nicely. I got the 15th ranked prospect in the league for 3 C potential players. I'm kind of surprised that the A's say they appreciate the generosity. I don't know about all that. I also traded Jose Tena and a couple C potential guys that I don't need for a B potential center field prospect. And there is the big one, blockbuster trade. Cade Cavalli going out and a potential left fielder, Lawrence Shepard, coming in. You are looking at the heir to James Wood's throne. And I'm not done yet. The Jacob Young and Foster Griffin trade has been accepted, and there we go. We got David Shields, B potential starting pitcher, and we also got in a potential closer. All of these moves, and even more off camera, have afforded me 2 things. Number 1 is 1 more year of James Wood. We still have team control after this year, so I'll have to look for a trade after that because he's just too expensive. He's too good. There's nobody that can replace him in this lineup right now, that's for sure. There are guys that I have for the future, but I'm going to offer him 1 more year at $24 million. And the other thing that it affords me is a pre-arbitration extension for Doug Brown. Compared to Wood's 95 potential, Brown has 99, and I don't want to run into the same issue down the road where we can't afford him anymore. So I'm going to get out in front of that and offer him a 6-year deal worth about $100 million. And our one and only free agent, Garrett Mitchell, accepted his 2-year deal for $9 million. Doug Brown, however, did not accept his contract, and today is the last day to renew, which means I have to renew it, and I can't make a long-term deal. I usually don't have this much trouble getting long-term extensions across the line, but that's a couple at least in this video. After about an hour and a half off camera, things have finally come together here for the Expos. I try to make the offseason as interesting as I can. I know I run a little bit long sometimes, but this was really complicated. And we ended up with a total payroll of $143 million this year, under our threshold of $150. Notably, this is the last year of our Aces contract, Shane Bieber. And of course, as I mentioned, this will be the last season for James Wood before I am forced to trade him. And here is our lineup for this season. Against righties, Doug Brown is going to lead off this year. The combination of speed, contact, and discipline will make him a perfect fit in that role. And after that, it is pretty familiar. I don't think I've talked about Curtis Mead yet, but he's assuming a full-time role this year, and he's especially good against lefties, so against lefties, he'll be batting 5th with 87 contact. And then, of course, we have our free agent, Garrett Mitchell, who's going to be playing center field, and I think he's going to be just as good, if not better, than Jacob Young overall. And here is the rotation and bullpen. I've got Bieber, of course, as our ace, Cody Bradford in the 2. He should be very good in a starter role, so he'll be there. J.R. Ritchie, interested to see what he can do this year. Then we've got Mitchell Parker, who I've been trying to work into the majors for a while, and he is finally ready. And lastly, Travis Sikora, who I'm not 100% sure about, honestly. It was between him and the Japanese starter Tomoya Kinjo, so I may switch that around depending on how these guys perform during the season. Definitely a few changes in the bullpen here. I had to move off of several guys because they were becoming too expensive, but Greg Weissert is coming back as our closer. Last thing before we get into this year is to look back at some of our prospects here. And of course, we've got the Canadian from last year, Jeffrey Moore, who I am hoping can move very quickly through the minor leagues. He's the center fielder of the future, so if he gets to even 68 overall, let's say, over the next couple of years, he could come up. I traded for Joe Katimer this offseason in a potential starter. We'll see what he can do in the minors. And then you've got Eli Willits. This is a huge season for him. The clock is ticking on all my other shortstop options, so he has got to play well this year and then take that position over. Lots and lots of high potential in here. We are the #1 ranked farm system, and I can't believe that Lawrence Shepard is all the way down at number 12. He is our James Wood replacement, so very keen to see what he does in AAA this season. Straight up, I don't know what to expect this year. It was a reset year, honestly, in that offseason, bringing in a lot of new faces and out with some key pieces of the team. Let's go see opening day here against a Cubs team that had 103 wins last year. And of course, Shane Bieber, once again, our ace, is back on the mound. After not as good of a year in his second year of the 3-year deal, this is his last year on the Expos. Some things are still the same here. Nico Horner in the leadoff spot for the Cubs. 2-strike pitch, and Bieber strikes him out. Not an easy guy to strike out there. And look who is back in a Cubs uniform, Kyle Schwarber. Quickly becoming a fan favorite is Doug Brown with his contact and speed. And here's a full count pitch from Horton. He struck him out. And maybe our biggest storyline, James Wood was able to come back for one more year. How is he gonna perform as Alex Bregman snags that one? I think I've put together a good enough roster to make the playoffs. It's just whether or not we can actually compete in this division as Keibert Ruiz hits a 2-run shot and we take the lead first. That second year we had with 99 wins was honestly pretty nuts, and I don't know when we're going to match that total, if we're going to match that total in the rest of the year, but as long as we can get into the playoffs and have, a solid major league roster on the offensive and pitching side, then that's what I'm really focused on. Bieber made it into the 8th of this game on opening day, but we're handing it over to the bullpen now, and that's a ground ball from Greg Weissert. Should be 2, and it is. Weissert is getting a little older here, 34, turning 35 this season, but his stats just look really good, and I felt most confident with him as our closer once again. And he has got us just 1 out away from an opening day victory. Here is the pitch, ground ball, shortstop. PCA's quick, gonna have to hustle on the throw, and it's not in time. So Austin Hayes is going to get an at-bat here. And Weissert, that's down the middle, and Hayes with a no-doubter into right. That was murdered. It looked like we were about to cruise to a victory here, but as Hayes touches home, we are only up 1. And Moises Ballesteros' pinch hitting. He has got a lot of power. Could easily tie this up in one swing. And that was right down the middle. Weissert got away with that one. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Grounded to second base. Over to first, and there we go, narrowly escaping a massive choke. We go on to win the first series of the year against Chicago, but we get swept by the Reds. Thankfully, we turn around, and the offense gets going to win the first 3 games of a 4-game set against the Rockies. And in last year's draft, we were able to snag Jeffrey Moore as our first-round Canadian, who I've got very high hopes for. He's one of the best prospects in the league. So what is the draft going to deliver for us this season? Who is going to be the lucky first-round Canadian? Our first option here is left fielder Mackenzie Watley, who has some great contact, but maybe a little too good. After that, we've got first baseman Edward Garrett, who I could say the exact same thing about. We've got catcher Michael Freehand here, who I'm not sold on. And then further down, we've got relief pitcher Will Capps, who does look pretty good, and I may scout him. Overall, I am not liking our options, so hopefully Mackenzie Watley is decent because he's probably going to be the guy. There's always a chance we could discover a Canadian player in the international region, but I haven't had much luck with that so far. The Braves and the Mets were very, very good last year, and are off to a hot start once again, and we actually don't play either of them until June this year. But this week we've got 3 against the Dodgers with Shohei, Snell, and Yamamoto all pitching. This is a good test for us. We win the first game against Ohtani. Now against Snell, we take a close loss, and for the series against Yamamoto, we lose by 7. And after scouting the Canadian Watley for a week here, he didn't fall too far down the board from 45 to 53, so I think he's going to be at least decent, and hey, the contact is holding up pretty well here. I'm also trying to scout this closer for a couple of weeks who's not ranked because I've got a feeling he's going to jump up on the board, so we'll see how that goes as I begin discovering international pitchers here. Did we find anybody from Canada? Does not look like it. 3 from the DR and 1 from Chinese Taipei. It's a slow start here for the Expos in last place through the first month, 3 games under 500. Doug Brown is not the problem, he's got a 917 OPS and he's on fire, and Garrett Mitchell, our offseason signing, is also playing well, along with really most of the offense. Right now we've got some issues in the pitching staff between Travis Sikora and Mitchell Parker. And unfortunately our closer here did not end up getting ranked, and I wasted 3 weeks of scouting on him. Of course, I have to take our Canadian here in the first round, and I've looked at all the starting pitchers after that first round ranking, or after our second round ranking of 55, and the whole class is not looking great. So I'm going to get a little weird and scout our discovery guys and some closers and relievers and just try to make the most out of a class that I don't love too much. Still struggling a little bit here, and it's not the Mets or the Braves coming up here, but we've got a 4-game series against Miami, and we end up winning all 4 games. And that finally gets us out of the cellar as the division is starting to look a lot like last year with the Mets and Braves out front. I'm just going to need to have a little bit of patience, but check this out. I just found this guy in the draft class who was not ranked at all, not even Discovery, and he's now the 28th ranked player. Make sure you are looking deep in your classes. I say it in every single video. That is the biggest tip I can give you in scouting. But it gets even better here. We just discovered an infielder, Manny Hernandez, ranked 7th in the class, and if his profile holds up, he looks unbelievable. It's looking a little too good to be true, but if you come out ranked 7th, I've always got to make sure. Well, Manny Hernandez here ended up being ranked 19th after scouting him, and I do like the profile quite a bit. He's also got maybe a higher overall, not as high a potential, so he could be a decent mid-round play. Yet another closer that I tried to get on the board here who ended up non-ranked, so I've definitely lost a few weeks here messing around. But the team is not messing around quite as much anymore. We've gotten up to 8 games above 500 here, still in 3rd place. And obviously it's still early on June 10th, but we are in the 2nd wildcard spot right now with the Mets and Marlins surrounding us. Our division has been really strong throughout this video. Checking in on Eli Willits here, and some of the stats are improving this year, especially against lefties. He's got that above 60. But he's got a 652 OPS in AAA right now, which is not very promising. And also Lawrence Shepard, whose offensive stats are much more developed than Willits, has a 639 OPS, so I don't know if the pitching is just like insane in AAA right now, or if these guys are really struggling. And that's the future that we're looking at right there, so they've got to get it going here pretty soon. Unfortunately, after that last clip, we just lost 6 in a row, including the first 2 of a 3-game series against the Mets. We need to get our game together before we take on Atlanta twice in a 2-week span. I'm going to make a change in the rotation because Mitchell Parker has not figured it out, and I'm going to send him down to AAA, and let's give our guy Kinjo a shot here in the major leagues. I feel like he's going to be pretty good. He's a great strikeout pitcher, but he also has 67 control and good hits per 9 versus righties and lefties. And we do turn the corner here before this Atlanta series, winning 4 games in a row now, but bad news here, we've got an injury, and it's Travis Sikora who was in our rotation. And that means that Mitchell Parker is on his way right back to the major leagues. Tomoya Kinjo is about to get his first career start right now against the Braves, who've obviously been very, very good, and we win that game 5-1. Maybe he will provide a spark for us as he goes 5 innings and only gives up the 1 run. Now, he did have 4 walks. Can we take the second game of the series here with Bieber going up against Tarek Skubal? We cannot. And unfortunately, they would go on to win that series, and they've won the first 2 games of the next one. We continue to be stuck in neutral as we get to July, only 3 games above 500. And that leaves us tied with the Giants for the last wildcard spot, and the Pirates and Marlins are close behind. Finally, I was able to get one of these closers to pop up on the board, and not only that, they went from not ranked to 16th in the class. And I had to be very persistent. It was another 3 weeks of scouting him, and yeah, he looks excellent. I also discovered this third baseman, Derek George, who's moving up the board, and he can play first base and left field as well, so I think the board is coming together nicely. These 2 weeks are massive in terms of whether or not I end up selling off pieces of the team. We need to have a good run here, and it looks like we've got another injury. And this time it's Nasim Nunez, who you know is a pretty key piece of my infield at this point. I thought about bringing Eli Willits up to replace him, but then I remembered we have Devin Fitzgerald here, whose stats are a little more advanced right now. Also calling out while I'm here that 99 potential Doug Brown is continuing to develop very slowly, only going up 1 overall so far this year, despite a nice season offensively. If you've made it to this point of the video, first of all, I love you. Second of all, congratulations, because you're about to see one of the most interesting draft boards of all time. So many of my guys started as non-ranked or discovery. I mean, look at all the top of my draft. It's not until Mackenzie Watley, who's gonna be our first round Canadian, that we have somebody who started out as ranked. Hopefully that means they will stay on the board for a while because I don't have that many options in this draft class. These are all the players that I found, and there's only one starter here, which is Lee Choi. Alright, Simmon ahead do pick number 18 here, and it looks like everybody is still on the board, including Mackenzie Watley. Unfortunately, he's going to have C potential, but at least he has really good contact and can play everywhere in the outfield. For somebody with C potential, he actually might be pretty good. So, yet another Canadian here in the first round, this time Mackenzie Watley. Now I'm interested to see if anybody gets taken from me as we sim a little further ahead, and I honestly can't tell. Of course, yes, Derek George does get taken from me, who was the best player that I had left. I'm going to wait on our closer as well as Hernandez and Choi and jump down to Johnny Griffith, who I think is going to be the best player that I have left here. He should have very good potential starting from not ranked and going to 30th. Now I may lose some other guys because they were discovery, so let me sim ahead, and yeah, Manny Hernandez is gone. He gets taken with the 90th pick, and I debated on it. I probably should have taken him to maximize the class, but I liked our other guy a little better. And again, I'm going to wait on Luis Esposito and go for starting pitcher Lee Choi because I think he is going to get taken before anybody else. Now I'm really hoping that nobody falls off the board here. We lost one, and it was center fielder Sammy Baez who looked like a very good late round gem. So now I am going to take our closer here, Esposito, and I cannot wait to see how good this guy is. He might have 99 potential, honestly. And I simulate ahead, and my other center fielder is gone, and yeah, once again, I didn't scout enough players in the draft. I don't know, not my best scouting work, but I was kind of getting experimental, so I'm not too worried about it. I'm really focused on winning, honestly, because we need to get back to the playoffs. I got a taste of it a couple years ago, and I want to get this team back there. And it's the All-Star break, so looking through here, and Vinny Pasquantino is once again an All-Star. This guy has been worth every penny. Another year of a better than 900 OPS, 921 so far. And Dalen Lyle is also an All-Star out there in left field. I showed you his hitting stats during opening day. I mean, he's just turned into a monster, and he also has an OPS above 900. And lastly, we've got our homegrown talent Doug Brown here as well, who is still DHing for us, and again, he's just not improving as quickly as I really need him to. Remember, he didn't accept my long-term extension in the offseason, and I don't know if I can make another one, given that he's getting a little bit older and closer to arbitration. So if he's only going to be on the team for a few years before he's too expensive, I want him to be as good as he can be on the Expos and then give us more trade value. More consequential games here as we get close to the trade deadline. We lose 3 in a row, and now we take on St. Louis, and we do end up salvaging that series. I don't want to trade anybody because we're in a wildcard spot, but it's kind of tough because if we slip out of it, and there's some teams close to us here, I'm going to regret not trading some big pieces away. And that is what makes these games so important as we take a loss versus San Francisco, and in the second game of the series we lose again. This is to avoid a sweep, and we do. And again, we're just barely clinging on to that wild card. It's not really an offensive issue here. We are 8th in runs scored, which is really good. And it's not that much of a pitching issue either. We're 11th in ERA. I'm looking through the trading blocks and not finding anybody that I can afford or anybody that I really like here on the pitching side, both for starters and relief pitchers. Somebody like Isaac Matson does look really good, but he's got a 5 ERA on the season. And same thing with Juan Mejia here, who I would be interested in, but he's got a 5.5 ERA. I am just going to hang tight here once again and hope that this team starts to play a little better. So finishing out this series against the Mets, we win that game, and going past the trade deadline, we win another one against New York. To complete the 4-game sweep with Mitchell Parker on the mound, we get the job done. So we're 7 games above 500, chasing that wild card spot, and we now get to view our draft picks here. We got the Canadian Watley in the first round. Really interested how the rest of it panned out here, and kind of a mixed bag. Unfortunately, Watley only has 73 potential, but he is 64 overall and has some very good contact, so maybe I would give him a shot. I definitely want to get more of our Canadian first-rounders into the show throughout the video here. Johnny Griffith is a decent second-round pick with 92 potential, but 54 overall. However, he can get into the minor leagues right away because his contact is excellent. He's also a switch hitter, and this is just my favorite type of profile right here, so hopefully he'll be pretty good. And now for the guy that I might be most excited about here, Luis Esposito, closing pitcher who has 93 potential and he's 65 overall with a pretty cool profile. Starting as completely not ranked and going up to, I think, 17th as a closer, you don't see that every day, and he did not disappoint. And my last two guys are nothing special, just some more depth that we could trade from, so I don't know, couple of cool picks here, but overall an underwhelming draft class. So we have got 2 months left in this season to secure ourselves a wildcard spot, and we are off to a good start here in August. And then right at the end of August here, we win 6 games in a row, including an 18-run game against the Tigers and an 11-run game the next day. So 1 month to go here. We need to stay hot, and looks like we're doing exactly that, as that is a winning streak, and it continues before we take on Philadelphia and lose that series. 18 games above 500 now, we've got a chance to win the division out of nowhere. If we can finish strong here, we'll do exactly that, and that's a 17-0 win against Toronto as we take that series, and now we face New York here, and we end up getting swept. So we quickly fall back to 5.5 games out, but we could make a big jump here with a 4-game series against the Braves. We lose the first game, the second game, we win the third game, and we do split the series. Before I lose the AAA stats at the end of the season, I wanted to check on Eli Willits, and he really turned things around here. The contact and discipline are in good shape, and he had a 718 OPS. I think he can take over shortstop next year if we need him. Back to the main event here. We lose a series against the Angels, and for the last series of the year against the Marlins, we end up winning the last game to finish with 88 wins, and we've made it in the postseason as a wild card team. Yet another really interesting and just kind of strange season here for the Expos. This has been one of the more difficult rebuilds that I've had so far, honestly. I'm doing a lot of things right. I mean, our offense was tied for 6th in runs scored with almost 800. That is very good. And I think I was right to stick with the guys that we had on the pitching side because we finished with the 3rd best ERA in the league. And yet somehow that only adds up to 88 wins. I don't understand it. Maybe we need a little better defense, that is what comes to mind. Maybe we could use a little more power because we were 25th in home runs, but that's not stopping us from scoring runs. Dalen Lyle was our best offensive player this year. He was excellent once again. Vinny P with a 900 OPS, Doug Brown and James Wood with an 800 OPS. Actually, this was one of the worst seasons for James Wood so far. He only had 26 home runs, coming off of 46 the year before, so it's kind of confusing. And yeah, I mean, he still put up 5 WAR, which is great to see. The K rate has ticked down the last couple of years, and this year in particular, his walk rate was a career high. He also seemed to do a lot better in the outfield. He only had 1 error, and he had 6 both the seasons prior. Crazy that he lost 100 points in his isolated power year over year. He just did not get the extra base hits this season. So, yeah. And obviously we saw that our ERA really improved throughout the year, and a huge part of that was Tomoya Kinjo, who is looking very good. He got 100 innings in that partial season with a 2.81 ERA. He might be our future ace since this is the last year of Shane Bieber. We do have an award here. I'm very interested to see what this is going to be, and we've got some gold gloves. James Wood won a gold glove. And Vinny P came in second for the MVP behind Shohei. I had a feeling he might be able to get one, but not quite. Well, here goes nothing. We're back for the playoffs. We've got a 3-game series against the Braves. And in Game 1, it's Shane Bieber versus Tarek Skubal. I'm not feeling very good about this, but let's get it over with. Simulating Game 1 here, and we actually win 4-1. So for Game 2, we've got Cody Bradford, reliever turn starter, going up against Spencer Strider here, and we lose that one. It all comes down to this: Tomoya Kinjo against Shane Baz. Are we going to get a chance to move on here? We are. An 8-1 victory. Kinjo continues to impress me. So now we face the Mets, yet another one of our division rivals here. Can we win this series? Game 1 is J.R. Ritchie versus Nolan McLean, which we win. Game 2, back around to Shane Bieber against Logan Webb, which we win again. We've got a chance to sweep the Mets and beat both the teams that beat us in the division. Game 3 is Cody Bradford versus Reynaldo Lopez, which we lose. So back for Kinjo and McLean in Game 4, which we also lose. So we're headed to Citi Field for a decisive Game 5 right now. J.R. Ritchie, who did not give up a run in his first start of the postseason, is back on the mound. And for the Mets, Logan Webb is back on the mound. Both pitchers put up zeros in the first, and Brady House gets us on the board with a solo shot in the second. Two good pitchers on the mound, but I'm expecting this to be a slugfest today because these offenses are very good as J.R. Ritchie gives up a 3-run shot to Mark Vientos. We get one back on a Dalen Lyle solo shot. J.R. Ritchie back on the mound strikes out Juan Soto and gets Bichette to pop out. Now here's Harper, who also strikes out. Trying to make a comeback in the top of the 6th, 2 on with 2 outs. We're down 1. Nasim Nunez is at the plate, Devin Williams is on the mound, he delivers, and that is a line drive absolutely ripped, but straight to Lindor. And Williams gets out of the jam. We've out-hit the Mets 8-3. That feels like a huge missed opportunity in this game, but Doug Brown leads off the 7th with a single, and a double from Pasquantino ties the game before Dalen Lyle hits a 2-run shot, and we're out in front. Looking for a clean 8th inning, Cade Gibson against Bryce Harper, and that is lined into left for a base hit. So we bring in Cole Henry, who had a great regular season. Cole Henry in the biggest spot of his life, the count's gone to full against Alvarez. The game hangs in the balance of this pitch right here, and that is roasted into left. Running on is Mitchell, he makes the catch. To move on to the NLCS, 1 strike away, Vientos at the plate. He's homered already today. Here is the pitch, and that is roasted into right. Gold Glover James Wood can't make the catch. Throw is coming to second, and it's not in time. And now Greg Weissert is coming in. Crowd is going absolutely nuts as the captain, Lindor, is at the plate as the tying run. Weissert has got to dial in here. 2-2 count. Here is the pitch, and he got him looking. Strike 3. The Expos are headed to the championship series after taking down their 2 biggest rivals. We've officially made it farther than the 2027 Expos in the playoffs here since we've gotten through the NLDS. And we're taking on a Giants team that had 86 wins, so actually we had 2 more wins than they did. Their rotation definitely looks a little bit different than it does in real life with Cole Reagans as their ace. Their lineup is pretty similar with Devers and Adames as their 2 highest overall players, along with Jazz Chisholm Jr. coming over to play second base. And as of me recording this, Patrick Bailey just got traded from the Giants like 15 minutes ago. But he is still here in 2029 in this rebuild, and his defense is insane. And it looks like Buster Posey pulled off a trade for Zaire Hope, so that is another notable player on this team. I can't help but get the feeling that the hard part might actually be behind us here. I don't think the Giants are as good as either the Braves or the Mets, who we've already beaten. So for Game 1, Shane Bieber faces off against Cole Reagans, which we lose 4-3. Game 2 is Cody Bradford, who's been exceptional, going up against Carson Whisenhunt, which we win to even the series. Tomoya Kinjo is going to get the start in Game 3 for us, and he's only given up 1 earned run on a solo shot so far in 2 starts. He has stepped up in a big way, and he faces Michael Foret, who is a Rays prospect in real life. Here we go for Game 3, which we lose 3-2. J.R. Ritchie has also been very good in the playoffs, and he starts Game 4 against Landon Roop, which we lose 6-0. We are going to have to win 3 in a row if we're going to the World Series. Game 5, Bieber back on the mound, and we lose, and we are eliminated. The offense could not get anything going here in San Francisco as we put up only 3 runs across the last 3 games. That felt like a really good chance to get to the World Series for us, but unfortunately we've come up short as those Giants take down the Mariners in 2029. So we've had some challenging off seasons already, and this one is going to be another one. It shouldn't take me quite as long to get through it, but some big names are headed out. First of all, Shane Bieber's contract is now expired, and I don't want to bring him back for another year, at least I don't think so. But the big one, of course, is that James Wood is gonna have to go. I couldn't get the long-term extension, and now he's way too expensive in arbitration, and he came off of not that great of a year last year. Plus, it's the last year of team control, so unfortunately, baseball is a business, and I've got a budget to worry about. We need to find a trade. In fact, I'm probably going to need to find a few trades because other guys are also getting very expensive. The more that I play franchise mode this year, the less that I like the untouchables because it just makes it harder and harder to make big trades for me like this for a pitcher that I really like. If the Mariners are in go for it mode, why would anybody be untouchable? I also don't like that the trade finder's not an option anymore. Maybe to balance it out, you could throw some bogus trade deals in there if MLB The Show or SDS wants to make it more difficult, but it just ends up taking a really long time, like too long, to find trades. I think I found something that I'm willing to do that I'm not really sure if the Giants will be willing to do. For James Wood, they're looking for a center fielder. Wood can play center field, probably not good enough for it, but he did win a Gold Glove in right, so... The main piece of the return here, at least the guy who's going to play right away, is Bryce Eldridge, who would be our DH and then take over first base after Pasquantino's contract is out next year. He could replace some of the power that we're losing from James Wood, and he's still got room for growth, and he's also on a renewable contract. I also would like this a potential closing pitcher here, lefty Britt Glover. Kind of looks like Goose Gossage with that facial hair. And last but not least, a 22-year-old infielder, Johnny Lavelle. I think this is a pretty fair deal. I mean, we'll see what the Giants think, but it's about the best that I could find after 20 minutes of searching. One thing my lineups have been lacking throughout this video is a really good right-handed hitter, and I'm targeting Kazuma Okamoto here. 2 more years of arbitration here, and he's 33 years old. I want to move off of Brady House and try to get somebody a little bit better at third. He's good, but I think we could just get someone with a higher ceiling. I'm not super high on Harlan Sasana, and he's Rule 5 eligible at this point, so I want to try to trade him and this other starter for Okamoto and a relief pitcher, and we'll see if that gets accepted. Next big name to go here is Nasim Nunez, who's been a nice infielder for us, and I want to trade him and also K-Bear Ruiz. I want to try a little something different at catcher this year. And I think this deal lines up pretty nicely with the Yankees for a first base prospect and then also an infielder. And that would be Dax Kilby here, who can play all the infield positions and center field, actually. He's got some good speed and some nice contact. So I'm going to try to make this deal. I'm going to try to go after Patrick Bailey here. I know in real life he can really struggle at the plate, but I think he is on the cusp of being very good, and I want to go for a defensive catcher this time instead of having a more offensive catcher. And if he does break out at the plate, this is going to be a huge deal for us, and I've also got a couple other guys that I'm looking at. I want to invest some money in a free agent starting pitcher, and I'm liking Andrew Abbott here. And not only that, I want to get a really good relief pitcher, and Kevin Kelly is about the best that I've found. Look at some of the seasons he's had here, a 2.10 ERA with a .83 whip, and a 2.49 ERA with a 1 whip. Haven't been as active in free agency throughout this video, but I'm going to change that this year. I actually changed my mind on Andrew Abbott. I've got a different idea on the starting pitching side. I really like a couple of the guys that I have here, especially J.R. Ritchie and Tomoya Kinjo. I'm thinking I extend both of these guys for 5 years and kind of build around them. J.R. Ritchie's going to cost about $14 million per year, which is, I think, pretty good. And for Kinjo, I definitely want to extend him, but I also think it's only fair to give him a payday since he came over from Japan, and I've kind of been underpaying him so far. So I'll go 5 years and $11 million per year, and I really like these 2 deals. Okay, big week here, expecting some huge trades to go down. There's the first one. We landed Kazuma Okamoto, and the Yankees accepted the deal for Nasim Nunez and K-Bear Ruiz. And the biggest one of them all, blockbuster trade, James Wood for Bryce Eldridge and a couple of very promising prospects. And now the Expos roster has really turned over from the beginning of this video. It's time to give the young phenom Eli Willits the reins to shortstop here. He's gotten his contact and discipline above 60, which is what I was looking for. I'm not going to put too much pressure or expectations on him, but the position is his. All right, big decision here. I think this is for Patrick Bailey, and we got him. Excited to give him a shot. Obviously, the defense is elite, and I mentioned I think he's due for a breakout at the plate. So we'll take a look at the lineup and the rotation in a minute here, but after all of these moves, my budget is at $132 million. And I like the rotation, but I need another starting pitcher. So I'm eyeing one last trade, and that is for Michael McGreevy. He has got elite control and just looks very well rounded here, and he's asking for about $14 million in arbitration, which I can afford. Gonna have to give up some talent to get him though, including center fielder Jose Ramirez, who we drafted way back in, I think, the second season, and also a potential closing pitcher, and I think this should get the deal done. Simming ahead a day, and there we go. Blockbuster trade McGreevy for our 2 prospects. Another massive offseason. I said it wasn't going to take me as long, but again, that took me like an hour and a half to get through all that. So I try to balance showing you guys what I think is interesting and what is kind of not. So hopefully you're still with me here, and this is our team. Very interested in Bryce Eldridge, and I want to see how his power stacks up to James Wood. I've got a lot of confidence in him, and he's got room for growth still. And now for the rotation. Kinjo, Bradford, Richie, and Sakura all coming back. Of course, both Richie and Kinjo got those 5-year extensions to be centerpieces of the rotation for years to come. And McGreevy is probably a 1-year rental, but he should be pretty good. I did trade for Robinson Ortiz. I cannot remember who or what or when, but he looks really good as a lefty. So we're bringing him in, and we will have him for a while because he is on a renewable contract for at least 2 more years. So we still have the #1 ranked farm system with a lot of talent in here. Guys like Johnny Griffith, Jeffrey Moore, who I believe is Canadian. Yes, he is the best Canadian that we've got, and he's a center fielder someday. Many guys that I traded for. What's fun about being a team with a middle-level budget is you have to really balance going after some big free agents and kind of 1-year rentals that are more expensive, as well as keeping your farm system as good as you possibly can. So I've been having a lot of fun throughout this video, and it has been challenging. I have got a lot of confidence in this roster, and I'm really liking the direction we're heading here, so let's get 2030 underway with opening day, Tomoya Kinjo versus Hunter Brown, and we win 12-2. Let's hope that's a sign of things to come. In fact, we start this season 7-1, including winning this series against the Braves and winning 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers. And in his first 2 starts as an Expo, Michael McGreevy has a 1.5 ERA. I'm going to move through this season quicker than the last ones just to keep things moving here, and let's take a look at the draft class real quick and see what we've got for Canadians. Well, our first guy is Hank Callaway, ranked 74th. Not great, but he could be something. We'll take a look. Hopefully he's good, because we don't have another Canadian player until this reliever ranked 185th. Okay, we're 1 week from the draft, and this team is awesome. One problem. So are the Mets. We are 57-32, they are 57-33. We did just win the most recent series against them, which gives me some confidence, but they are really good. So taking a look at the offense, we are 9th in runs scored, so not as high of peaks as we've had in past seasons, but still really good. However, we are the best pitching staff with a 3.5 ERA. The funny thing is that 2 other teams in our division, the Braves and the Mets, are right there behind us. It's been a tough division. Vinny Pasquantino is unbelievable. Unbelievable. I am so glad I traded for him and then extended him going back to the very first offseason. He is having an insane year with a 1.1 OPS right now. He's actually getting on base at a nice rate, along with having 24 home runs so far, so seems to have just as much power as James Wood did. The Okamoto trade is looking good here, 821 OPS, and then kind of a down year actually from Dalen Lyle with a 750, but on the good side of things, we are seeing some offensive improvement here from Patrick Bailey. It's funny, we have the best ERA in the league, but our starters are having actually not as good a years as we've had in the past. Michael McGreevy, however, is pitching phenomenally. The bullpen is unbelievable. Kevin Kelly, I can't believe he made it to the last day of free agency. He's got a 1.77 ERA and a .84 whip, and our closer Cole Henry has 26 saves, 1.89 ERA, and a 1 whip, not to mention Luis Perales, also having a phenomenal year. Let's get to this MLB draft here, where I have got some very interesting options. Of course, in the first round here, we'll have to take our Canadian Hank Callaway, who's not great, but he does have decent contact, actually really good contact, so we'll take it. He'll be our #1 pick with pick 28. After that, though, I've got some really interesting options, like this closer who is ranked 23rd, Discovery closing pitcher Jim Ward, who I'm very interested in, and I hope he falls. We don't pick again till 62, so I'm kind of doubting it. Also, this Discovery center fielder who is ranked 9th, John Cordero, who looks promising, and then some good pitcher options as well that were either Discovery or moved up the board. All right, our turn in the first round here, obviously going Hank Callaway. I'm just really hoping that Jim Ward falls to my next pick because I want to get this really good closer. So let's get Hank here. And now simulating ahead, and Ward is still there. I'm excited about this guy, so I'm going to pass up the 9th ranked center fielder in the class just to get this closer, and we'll hope that John Cordero falls to our 3rd round pick. So simulating ahead here, and he does. Pretty straightforward for me here, 9th ranked player in the class, good combination of overall and potential, probably won't have A potential, but very solid pick here in round 3. Let's grab 3rd baseman William Wang here, how about that? He should be a good late round gem with A potential, so I like him here. I don't really like my pitcher options left, so I'm just going to take a risk on a late round closer here before I go for those pitchers. And now everybody else is gone as we get to the last pick here, so I've got to just try to find somebody. I guess we've got one starter left, Koji Yokoyama, so we'll finish things out with him. That was a pretty fun draft. All-stars this year, we've got Michael McGreevy, whose ERA has actually gone down below 3 now. Vinny Pasquantino is there, very deservedly so. I think he's made it every single year throughout this video. Yeah, 5 straight seasons. And to my surprise, that is everybody. I thought we'd have some more there, but yeah, just 2. We are going to hang tight at the trade deadline here. I can't afford to add anybody, really, and I like this team a lot. We can make some improvements internally as we get closer to the end of the season. And right on the trade deadline here, we take another series from the Mets, and that puts us 3.5 games in front. We're 70-39. Let's take a look at these draft picks here. I'm not expecting much from Hank Callaway, but I am very interested in the rest of the class here, and all right, not bad. Callaway's worse than I thought, with only 71 potential. He does have the contact, which is great, but he's not going to be making the Major League roster. And our closer ended up here with 90 potential, 77 overall, and he's pretty cool. I like this guy. Disappointed with John Cordero. I'm surprised he was ranked 9th and came out with 56 overall and 81 potential, but the profile's pretty good, so I'm not going to complain. Really, I think the best pick, maybe besides our closer, is 3rd baseman William Wang. I know he's a low overall, but with 94 potential, down the road, this guy would be a stud. Let's get to the end of this season because I am very excited to see this team in the playoffs. Unfortunately, we had a bad month of August, and we've actually fallen out of the division lead here, now behind the Mets. But we are well in front in the wild card, so worst comes to worst, we'll at least get a playoff berth. Randy Kearns isn't having as good of a year in AAA, but he's close to his max potential, I think, and I want to get another Canadian into the majors, so for September call-ups, I'm going to bring him up. Travis Sakura's not pitching great this year, so I'm going to just throw Randy in the rotation, and we'll see what he can do. Honestly, a bit of a slow finish to the season, but we still end up with 97 wins. The team is completely different than it was in 2027 when we had 99 wins, and we almost managed to get back to that total. Huge improvement over the last 2 years, though, where we had 87 and 88 wins. Again, we weren't quite as good offensively. Actually, we were just about average, tied for 15th in runs scored, which is really surprising. And we did fall to 2nd in ERA, so it turns out that pitching was actually our strong suit this year, but we weren't able to take the crown from the Braves. We do have a league leader here. Let's see what we got. It's Doug Brown again for triples, this time with only 12. And no, Vinny P did not get himself that MVP, but he did finish the season with a 1. OPS. He 1-dotted it this year with 46 home runs and 117 RBI in the last year of his deal. I could not have asked for any more from him, not even a little bit more. Harry Ford really maximized his at-bats this year as our backup catcher. Bryce Eldridge, 822 OPS, that's okay. Dalen Lyle, 806. Okamoto and Brown both right here in the 770s. I didn't mention Eli Willits at all this year, and he finished with a 698 OPS, which is not great, but what is good is he developed. He developed nicely, so he should just be getting better and better, obviously, throughout every year on the team. McGreevy had a great season, Kinjo turned things around, but Richie and Sikora were not too good. It's really this core of relief pitchers that carried us between Henry, Perales, Kelly, even the lefty Cade Gibson. And Cody Bradford was back in the rotation again, and he had a 3.5 ERA, so he'll probably be our number 2 starter. Randy Kearns got 5 starts here and actually had a 2.5 ERA, so pretty good for our guy. Maybe I'll throw him on the playoff roster. Actually, I don't know if I could do that because I did not add him to the 40-man in time. I always do that. I also forgot to mention Patrick Bailey, by the way, here, who had a great offensive year with a 757 OPS, and with that defense, he got 5 WAR. I'm glad I shook things up at the catcher position. So I'm going to go McGreevy, Bradford, Kinjo, and then Richie for our playoff rotation here. I actually have to put J.R. Ritchie as the number 2 for our pitching rotation because we are playing in the wildcard series once again. That's right, the Mets ended up taking us down by 1 game, which is disappointing. We were on pace to beat them by quite a bit. And the Braves were very good once again as well with 92 wins, and that is going to be our first round matchup. In fact, it's going to be the exact same path again. If we can take down the Braves, we're going to face the Mets. So let's see what we can do. McGreevy's going to take on Shane Baz here for game 1, which we win 5-2. J.R. Ritchie versus Jared Jones here in game 2. The Braves traded for Jones last year from the Pirates. Can we take game 2 here? We cannot. And that means 2 lefties go at it here for game 3, the deciding game. It's Cody Bradford versus Tarek Skubal. I really do not want our playoff run to come up short here, and we take the win. 4-1 in that final game here. Bradford had 6 innings pitched and 1 earned run, and then as I mentioned, our bullpen is so good, they went 4 shutout innings. So a little deja vu here. Now we get the Mets again. Tomoya Kinjo will be our game 1 starter against Logan Webb here, and we lose the first game. I'm feeling pretty good with McGreevy on the mound for game 2, but we are facing Nolan McLean. So can we even up this series here? We can, 1-0. Back home for games 3 and 4. J.R. Ritchie versus Luis Heel. In game 3, we win, and we can get back to the NLCS tonight. Cody Bradford against Max Meyer, and there we go. 13 runs from the offense here in the deciding game, and we're back to the NLCS once again. And this time our opponent is the Padres. Their rotation includes Michael King, Logan Gilbert, and Jose Soriano, who's breaking out this year in real life. It's a pretty good top 3. Obviously, they have Mason Miller as their closer, which is terrifying, and then they have an insane outfield between Tatis, Langford, and Merrill. That's disgusting. And they have a 94 overall Freddie Fermin here, who looks like maybe the best catcher in the league. Not really sure how I'm feeling about this series, honestly. I have not been keeping tabs on the Padres, so we'll see what we can do. We've got Kinjo and King for game 1, which we win, McGreevy and Gilbert for game 2, which we win. Off to an excellent start here, and now we get to go home for 3 games in a row. J.R. Ritchie and Jose Soriano for game 3, which we win 12-3, and we could sweep them tonight. Bradford versus Vasquez, and we win. We sweep the Padres. 12-3 and 8-0 in the last 2 games. Looks like we were very inspired coming home. That was dominant. And for the World Series, it's going to be either the Royals or my Tampa Bay Rays. 2 teams that don't make it this far too often in these save files. So let's see, simming ahead, who is it going to be? And it's the Royals. The Royals have a very good rotation here with Brian Wu, Hunter Green, Liberatore, Gallen, and I actually almost considered signing Brian Wu in the offseason, but he was a little bit too expensive. He looks insane though. On the offensive side, they still have Maikel Garcia and Bobby Witt, and actually Maikel Garcia is higher overall than Bobby Witt in this roster. They've also got Carter Jensen at catcher, who looks like a monster, and then a couple of big names in the bullpen. Tony Santillan here as a setup guy, and then closer Josh Hader. They finished last season with 99 wins. This is going to be tough. They seem to have built this roster in the same way that I like to build my rosters. Good control pitchers and high contact. They were second ranked in contact, and we were first. First trip to the World Series for the Expos. Kinjo and Hunter Green for game 1, which we win 16-5. Homers from Pasquantino, Okamoto, and Bailey in that game. That is massive from our offense. Everybody had at least 1 hit. That is a very good sign, as game 2 is McGreevy versus Liberatore, which we lose. 3 straight games at home. This is the one I'm worried about. J.R. Ritchie versus Brian Wu, and we win 2-1. And that puts us up 2-1 in the series. Cody Bradford versus Zach Gallen for game 4, and we win. We are on the cusp of a World Series title here, sold out crowd in Montreal at the O-Dome. And on the mound today for us is Tomoya Kinjo. He's not been great in the postseason, but after signing him about 4 or 5 years ago, he is here in the biggest start of his life. We are up 3-1 in the series, but I would love to win the World Series tonight at home. Looking for a clean first inning. Isaac Collins at the plate. Kinjo with the pitch, he got him. Dominant start here, it's a 1-2-3 inning. For the Royals, it is Hunter Green. He doesn't have much control, but on any given day, he can strike out just about everyone. Even somebody with elite contact like our second rounder from 2026, Doug Brown here. Count is 2-2. Green delivers, and he got him. Neither team is able to put up any runs in the first as Kinjo comes in for the second, and Bobby Witt Jr. gets him for a solo shot. Eldridge leading off the home half of the second here. He could tie the game with one good swing, but he grounds out to Garcia at third. Kinjo has been solid besides that solo shot to Bobby Witt, but then he drives in another run. It's 2-0. Trying to get something going with the bottom of our order here. That's a walk from Kilby and a 2-run shot from Patrick Bailey. Of everybody in this lineup, that is the last guy I expected. New life here for the Expos as Willett singles and Brown singles. The exact guy that I want at the plate is at the plate. Vinny Pasquantino with 2 runners on, but he chases that, although it gets away. He strikes out, but the runners move up to second and third. So a huge opportunity presents itself for Okamoto. 2 runners in scoring position. Hunter Green delivers, he hung that, and that's a base hit up the middle. A second run is in, it is 4-2. We are still just in the 5th inning. Kinjo trying to have a clean inning, but he is taken out for Travis Sakura, who immediately gives up a 2-run shot, and it's a tie ball game. Score even back up at 4 here as Garrett Mitchell gets a walk, and a triple from Doug Brown scores him. And Pasquantino with a 2-run shot puts us back out in front. It is 7-4. There is no reason not to use our very best relievers, and there we go. Kevin Kelly is coming in, but he gives up back-to-back hits. He was so good in the regular season, and now in the postseason, he gives up 2 runs. Coming out now is Cade Gibson. Bobby Witt ties up the game. It's 7-7. No team can get away here as now the Royals take an 8-7 lead. Haters already struck out Okamoto and Lyle. We're down to our last chance here. 2 outs and 2 strikes in the bottom of the 9th. Eldridge is at the plate and he strikes out. After an insane Game 5, we go to Kansas City to try to defeat Bryan Woo. I am not liking our chances as much today, but Brown leads things off with a solo shot and back-to-back homers. Pasquantino doubles the lead. And make that 3 in a row as Okamoto takes Bryan Woo deep. Are you kidding me? An offensive explosion gives McGreevy a 3-run cushion before he even takes the mound. He was our best starter throughout this year. Can he have one more good start today? And that's a clean first inning. So far, so good. Looking for a clean 3rd inning, and there we go. And in the top of the 4th, Garrett Mitchell with a 2-run shot. We are up 5-0. McGreevy just has to pitch aggressively in the zone here. That's all you need to do today. We've got a 5-run cushion. We can win the World Series tonight, but now all of a sudden it's 5-2. That better not come back to bite us as McGreevy is running out of energy here, and we go to Travis Sakura again. I don't know why we're doing this. Is he able to have a clean inning? There's 2 runners on. And at the plate is this guy, Alan Roman, who doesn't make contact a lot, but when he does, it goes a long way. The number 2 prospect for the Royals, Alan Roman at the plate, and he strikes out, thank God. And Pasquantino comes up here in the top of the 7th and hits another solo shot. But in the bottom of the 7th, Sakura is still in for some reason, and he clears the bases with a double. It's 7-5, and finally we go to Kevin Kelly. Crowd is on their feet as superstar Bobby Witt is at the plate. That is hung down the middle and out into right. Thankfully, Brown settles under it and makes the catch. These 2 games have been some of the most stressful games I've ever seen, as now there's runners on the corners with nobody out. Kevin Kelly's still in and the bases are loaded. One of the best hitters in the Royals lineup, Carter Jensen, is at the plate. He grounds that to 3rd base. This could be 2, throw to 1st, and we got it. Into the 9th with a 2-run lead, Cole Henry is coming in. He is 8 for 8 in save opportunities, but the way things have gone in this series, I don't know what is going to happen, but he strikes out Isaac Collins. Now the power hitting prospect, Alan Roman at the plate. Count is full. The pitch from Henry is inside, but Bailey's going to challenge. Did that catch a piece? It did for strike 3. Last man for the Royals, Jack Caglione. Cole Henry delivers, ground ball to first base. Pasquantino flips to Henry, and the Expos win the World Series. 5 years after moving back to Montreal and returning as the Expos, they win the title. And there you have it, 2030 World Series champions, the Montreal Expos. And your World Series MVP is Offseason edition Kazuma Okamoto with 3 home runs and 8 RBI. That was one of the more challenging rebuilds for me. It took a lot of time and a lot of thought for me to make all these decisions throughout the years. Trading away pieces of our young core that we started this rebuild with every single season in order to replenish with new young talent to come up later on. Normally, a $150 million budget is plenty for me to work with, but for some reason, it really became a challenge for me. I had to make so many tough decisions and also made some really good decisions as well, like signing Vinny Pasquantino, who was unbelievable. I traded CJ Abrams away for J.R. Ritchie, who ended up being one of the key pieces of our rotation and got up to 86 overall at the end here. And the offseason additions of Okamoto and Bailey in the last season here proved to be really impactful. Not to mention the trade for Michael McGreevy, who was our best starter this year. We did not get to see Eli Willits as much as I would have liked here. One of the things with this game that I find to be annoying sometimes is a lot of the prospects have such well-rounded profiles that even with high potential, they take a long time to develop. Pretty clear to me though that the best prospect that I got throughout this video was Doug Brown, who ended up at 82 overall here just as he was about to get into arbitration. I honestly thought he was going to be like 90 overall by now. I'm a little disappointed the Canadians didn't really factor into the video, unfortunately. The best one that I ended up getting was Jeffrey Moore, who was just about to start his minor league career, and he was going to be the center fielder of the future for us. I think the only guy who got any major league action at all was Randy Kearns. He was our 2027 Canadian here, and I would have had him in the rotation going forward just for fun, but also because that control would have made him play above his overall. So not only did we win a World Series this year, but I've got this organization in a position to succeed for the long haul because we have got so much potential in the farm system, still ranked number 1, that this team could succeed for a very long time and keep their budget of $150 million, although I'm thinking the fans would probably want a little more than that after a title. All in all, that was a lot of fun for me and the right amount of challenge for a rebuild. I hope you enjoyed this Expos rebuild. Take care, and I'll see you soon.